speaker? I say that every time. I expect you guys to be like, you know what, no. It's just your audience. Please put your hands together for the wonderful Belle.
Once upon a time, there were two brothers. Now the first was called First, and the second Last. Now those names might sound quite peculiar to you and I these days, but at the time their very tired mother found them quite practical. Now First grew up to be a strong, practical young lad himself, always willing to help out with the family chores and take wares to market, whereas Last was... well, I don't think it's fair to call him a simpleton, but say he'd earned the reputation to being a bit of a dreamer. Now, it just so happened that one autumn, the family's apple tree had borne no fruit. Oh dear, well, she'll have to be cut down and turned for firewood, I suppose, said the boy's mother. And First began to stretch and crack his knuckles, getting ready for a hard day's work, when Last piped up, Oh no, Mother, no. Pray, give me one piece of copper, and I promise you I will see to it that our tree bears fruit this fall. The boy's gone mad, the mother thought to herself. She said nothing, and she fished a piece of copper out of her apron and gave it to her son. And later that evening, Last trudged down to a little pond where he often liked to sit and think. And he fished a bit of copper out of his pocket and skipped it across the lake 3 times. And where it sunk, out bubbled a little goldfish. Oh, hello, Last, he said in a bubbly little voice. What can I do for you? Oh, hello, Mr. Fish. For as I mentioned, names in those days were quite practical. I was just wondering, our apple tree has borne no fruit this year, and I was hoping maybe you could help. Oh, that's easy. The tree, she's bound to be a bit lonely. Lonely? Yes, well, all you need to do is plant a wee little sapling next to her and give her some company, you know, and I'm sure she'll give you plenty of fruit in the coming years. All right, I can do that, said Last. Oh, but wait, see here, Fish, I'm afraid my family, we need fruit now. We have to sell our wares at the market for winter. Oh, don't worry about that. Said Fish. And he shimmied off one of his little golden scales and flipped it to Last with his tail. Now, you just plant that under your pillow tonight. I didn't need to write anything, I didn't come on stage, like this. Well, you just plant that under your pillow tonight, and in the morning, your tree will bear fruit. And Last was so happy, and he thanked the little fish, and he fished a bit of bread out of his pocket, threw it in, and the fish gurgled it up happily. And later that evening, Last tucked the little golden scale under his pillow and went to sleep. And sure enough, he was awakened the next morning by his mother going, "Oh my heavens!" And he looked out the window, and the tree had the most lovely golden apples all around her. And First gathered them up, and their mother mixed them up into jams and pies and put some away for cider, and Last, very, very carefully, took the pips out of one and planted a tiny little patch of dirt next to the big tree. And a year went by. But the next autumn, the tree once again bore no fruit. "Oh dear," said their mother. "I do fear this year she must be used for firewood." Oh, no, mother, said Last. Pray, give me one piece of silver, and I'll see to it again that our tree bears fruit. And his mother looked at him, for she did not understand the boy at all. But she went over to a mantelpiece and took a piece of silver out from where she hid it under one of the pots. There you are. Good luck. And later that evening, Lass trudged down to the pond and he skipped the silver coin 5 times. And where it burbled down, up came a happy little turtle. Why, hello, Lass, he said dreamily. What can I do for you? Oh, hello, Mr. Turtle. Well, you see, last year I spoke to Mr. Fish, and our tree wants some company, for she's gotten tired of bearing fruit. But surely this little sapling will take a few years to grow still, and calm down, child. I think you're doing quite the right thing. But this little tree is quite young, and in a few years' time, I'm sure there'll be good conversation. And the older tree is probably just thinking hard on what to say to it. Started off on a good note, you know. And even Lass, who was quite contemplative, said, "That's a mighty long time to just think about something." Oh, trees are good with that. They don't waste words. All right, but see, Mr. Turtle, we still need fruit this year. Otherwise, our tree will be chopped down and turned for firewood. And I'd hate to see that happen. Oh, don't worry, don't worry. The turtle rummaged in his little shell and pulled out a little bit of pondweed, which he handed to Lush. Now just put that under your pillow tonight, and in the morning, your tree will bear fruit. Oh, thank you, Mr. Turtle, said Lass, for the pond scum was quite damp. Let me see. Fished in his pocket again. Oh, do turtles like cake? He said doubtfully. Talking ones do. And Lass was so tickled by this that he handed over the rest of his pudding without any quibbles whatsoever, even the bit with the cherry in it. And that evening, he tucked the pond scum quite to one side of the pillow and went to sleep quite on the other side. But sure enough, he was woken the next morning by his mother exclaiming, "Goodness gracious me!" And when he looked out the window, the bright, tart green apples on the tree, surely this was the most bountiful harvest that their tree had ever produced. And same as last year, first scrabbled up the tree, picked the apples, for he was as nimble as he was strong, and their mother turned some for cider and some for pies and some to jellies and jams. And last, in his little corner, tended the sapling, turned her soil, and got himself quite dirty in the process. And his mother and his brother shook their heads, but shrugged. And another year went by. And surely this sapling must be old enough for talking and old enough to bear fruit and keep the old tree company now. But no, it was going to be one more winter, wasn't it? And winter's not known for its patience. It comes when it likes and it leaves at its leisure. Last year, I do believe this year, she must be turned for firewood. Oh, no, Mother, no. Just one more year. Pray, give me just one piece of gold. Gold, said first. What are you playing at, boy? I took it. Boy, said their mother, for she did love both of them and hated to see them quibble. Here's what we're going to do. Lass,
I will give you the piece of gold I keep by my bedside for emergencies. And first, you will accompany Last on his, well, it occurred to her, she'd never thought what to call these little miracles. You go with your brother. Oh, I'm turning in for the night. And so the boys went down to the pond, and Last led the way. Well, I say led, for first legs were quite a bit longer, and he was much faster. Keep up! Where are we going? Right here. Now look. Okay, all I have to do is skip this gold coin about skip into the pond. You're mad! No, it was you're mad. And oh, what a scuffle ensued between the two boys. The first was stronger, but Last was determined, and their hands got slippery and oh no! And they heard a distant down the well. Oh, well, boy. Not the time first. My dear boy, you've created quite a lot of work for me in the morning, but that tree will have to be turned for wood, you know, and perhaps we can get a few carvings out of her since you've spent a lost gold coin. Oh dear, said Last. And he trudged unhappily. But tonight, when he tried to get to sleep, oh, he tossed and he turned and he thought and he hummed and he hawed, and finally, just before dawn broke, he packed a small bundle and he trudged outside. He looked at the big tree and he said, I am sorry. I fear I'm not much help to you anymore. And then he looked at his little sapling. But I can do my best to help you, I suppose. And he gathered it up clumsily but gently, put her in his little parcel, and began to walk. And he walked, and he walked, and he walked. Day to night, night to day, living off berries and mushrooms and other plants that he'd learned to recognize through the forests and woods. And with time he came to a little cottage that seemed quite conveniently abandoned, but a bit dusty, but no worse for wear, thought Last. And he was quite tired from sleeping rough for so long. So he took his little sapling out of his bundle, gently planted her. It would home for you, I'm sure, he said. And then he went inside the little cottage and made himself a little bed. And he was awoken by a sound quite familiar to him, which was the sound of rustling. And when he looked out the window, he could not believe his eyes. There was an old man in an apple tree. But surely this one looked far much more like the one that he'd left behind than the little one planted right next to it. And they both bore the most beautiful pink fruits. Hello, sir, Last called. Oh, goodness me. Oh, no, it's okay. And hurried down the stairs and... You're welcome to take as many of those as you need. I was just surprised to see you is all. The old man stared and stared, and Last went, oh, sorry, son. You just, if you are the spit and image of a brother I once had, but you couldn't be, could you? That was a long time ago, and we're just about my age now. And Last went, oh. Well, thank you for the apples, lad. Good day. And the old man trudged along, and he seemed quite strong, even for an old man. And, well, the first thing Last did was run over to a little puddle and check his reflection, and Oh, thank goodness, his cheeks were still plump and his hair was still blonde and... But then... For he was certain, though he couldn't tell you how he knew, that was his brother first. And then suddenly a voice came to him. Not quite a voice, but not quite the wind either. Almost like what a tree might sound like if it ever thought to speak. Don't worry, lass. For your mother was sharp of wit and your brother strong as ever, and they lived a good life. I promise. But they're so... Lass couldn't find his words, for he was sure he had, though he'd been walking for a long time, it hadn't been months and certainly not tens of years, but for goodness sake. I see there, lass. Practical people, and they often have an easier time in this world of yours. As trees have been around for a long time watching, and then there are those like you, the dreamers, the artists, storytellers. And it's not always easy. And I won't pretend to you that it gets any easier. But you have one thing which many of these practical people don't. And that is that a dreamer can often live 1,000 lives in the time it takes most to live one. And Lust was somehow comforted by this, and he smiled. And he did live a long and happy life, and though he eventually grew old, he shared his stories far and wide as he walked and walked and walked, sometimes in exchange for copper, sometimes for gold, sometimes for a place to lay his head at night. He shared them with two brothers who were quite fond of collecting stories themselves, and with a boy named Hans who took just as much delight in telling him his own, and they became quite good friends. And that first story of his own, he happened to share with one of my great-grandfathers, who happened to share it with my grandmother, who, when the time was right, shared it with her daughter, her other daughter, and me. And anyone to this day will tell you that no matter how the time flows, no matter who seems to stay and who seems to go, a story is something that lasts.
I posted on Instagram 5 days ago. I was like, I want to speak at Shanakia, and then I sent a message. She was like, I could do a reading from Hamlet. And I was like, oh, this is because I think she understood that it was original. So I was like, oh, it's not really a Hamlet reading kind of vibe, it's more like original. Did look at my phone for like 2 hours, came back, and I was like, yeah, I've written a full fairy tale original. I was like, of course. Amazing. Okay, we're going to have one more speaker, and then we're going to